Hello and welcome back to Educator.com and AP Psychology. Today we're going to be looking at cognition and memory. In the cognition unit, you'll notice that it is 8 to 10% of the AP Psych test. So 8 to 10 multiple choice questions are going to be on this area of cognition. And this is going to include memory, language, thinking, problem solving, and creativity. And so what we're going to be looking at in this first lesson is memory, how memory works, how memory fails, and how we can improve memory. You will learn how humans convert sensory input into kinds of information. We will examine how humans learn, remember, and retrieve that information. We're also going to be taking a look at problem solving, language, and creativity. In terms of the objectives, we're going to compare and contrast effortful versus automatic processing, deep and shallow processing, and focused versus divided attention. Now, the attention idea is something that is kind of built in throughout the entire course, and so we are probably not going to be looking at that in this particular context exactly, but it is an issue that we have been dealing with. We're going to look at the physiological systems of memory, short-term memory and procedural memory, and then outline the principles regarding encoding, storage, and the construction of memories, and of course, strategies for memory improvement. One of the things that I love about psychology is that the things that we learn in psych have absolute applicability outside of psych. So you can take these ideas from this unit and use it for any course that you're studying. We're also going to be looking at biology, cognition, and cultural factors, and how that helps and hurts with language acquisition, development, and use of the words in the language that we have. We're going to be looking at problem-solving strategies, creative thought and creative thinkers, and some of the names that you're going to need to know: Noam Chomsky, Hermann Ebbinghaus, Wolfgang Kohler, Elizabeth Loftus, and George A. Miller. So, first demonstration, so hopefully you have a piece of paper and pen handy in front of you. But what I'd like you to do is to see if you can remember this 20-digit number that I'm about to give you. 1 7 7 6 1 8 1 2 1 8 6 1 1 9 1 4 1 9 4 1. Now, without writing it down, can you remember it? Can recall that 20-digit number? Well, hopefully you can. But the thing is that let me write it out for you to see if you can remember it. As you look at it there, do you notice any kind of a pattern? And hopefully you do notice the pattern, and you notice that I took those 20 digits, which seems kind of overwhelming, and I broke it down into five chunks. Because I was able to break it into 5 chunks, it makes it easier to recall. And that's the thing about memory, is if you have a system, you're going to be able to remember in a more effective way. Second demonstration for memory. What I'd like you to do right now is to, as soon as I give you the instruction, pause the video and write down in any order as many of the presidents as you can from the United States. U.S. presidents, how many can you recall? Now pause the video. Now that you are back from the video, back to the video, there are some patterns that I've discovered with this demo throughout the year. Now, what tends to happen is that people tend to remember Washington and Adams. A lot of people will remember Lincoln. A lot of people will remember Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt. A lot of people remember Roosevelt, FDR. A lot of people remember Kennedy, Reagan. They won't remember Carter or Ford, but they will then remember Clinton, Bush, and Obama. That is pretty standard. Now, occasionally, we're going to have, depending on when I do this in the course and during the school year, a lot of people will remember the presidents they happen to be studying in the U.S. history class at the particular time. And so what's going on is that your schema allows you to remember the early ones that are really important, like Washington and Adams, the big deal folks like Lincoln and Roosevelt, and then the more recent ones. And as a result, it's predictable. And who remembers Franklin Pierce? Not very many people. And that's because of, you remember the more recent, you remember the early, and the ones who you see as important. Perhaps you remember the ones who have been assassinated or maybe elected twice, like Grover Cleveland. Or maybe you remember Ulysses S. Grant because you studied the Civil War and you know he was a war hero that came back and became president. So there's a pattern to the memory. Meaningfulness is going to be an issue. Now what I'd like you to do